Hey guys, Animortis here. Wanted to create a new video for everybody to show them how to make and install a Ubuntu system using the command line exclusively. People who are familiar with Arch installs know that in order to install Arch, you have to exclusively use the command line to do just about everything. For Ubuntu, it's better known that it has a nice, shiny graphical installer, but we want people to know, and I want people to know, that you don't have to resort to that sort of installation if you don't want to. If you're an Ubuntu enthusiast and you want to still bust your technical chops trying to install a system straight up from the command line using everything you want, it's feasible. So I haven't been able to find many videos on this. Nobody seems to be doing it. I want to do it. I want to show you how to install Ubuntu just from the command line. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. Okay, so just to be clear, this is going to be a UEFI install of Ubuntu on a hard disk in a virtualized environment, but overall everything will be exactly the same for how you decide to do it. I want to note this is very, very similar to how you would do it if you were doing a Debian installation. Debian installs pretty much the exact same thing. I'm going to do a separate video on how to command line install Debian, but they use the same tools to install. Ubuntu just has a couple more considerations that are tied to its more graphical nature. Debian is, like Arch, a more command line oriented operating system, so you can get away with a little bit more things on Debian than you can Ubuntu. So let's go ahead and get started. As you can see here, I have installed or have made available a Ubuntu Live CD environment. Now, this is just a regular old Ubuntu Live CD. I went with Focal Fossa just because it's the latest LTS version, but we're going to be installing Hirsute Hippo today just to show that you can pull this off with just about anything. And I'll make some comments here and there about how to do these things with Debian, although again, I'm going to mostly focus on Ubuntu just to keep from confusing anybody. So we're going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can see what I'm doing. Here we have a command line. Okay. We're going to just sudo su minus to make sure that we're in the root user and we don't have to keep typing sudo to do everything. So for those of you who are Arch users, you're pretty familiar with this process. We're going to do an fdisk to format and partition our hard drive. So here we are. We got into dev VDA, which for you will probably be SDA, to get access to the stuff we want to do. Now, this is a part you have to be very careful on. You're going to be erasing your data if you do anything. So first things first, since this is an EFI install, we're going to be creating a GPT label with the letter G, pushing enter. Then we're going to create two partitions. First one is going to be our EFI partition, and we're going to default for everything, but when we get to last sector, we're going to do plus 512M for megabytes, 512 megabyte partition. Yes, if that comes up, I'm just overriding some old stuff. Then we're going to change the type with T1 to choose EFI file system, or EFI system, so the system knows this is an EFI partition. Then we're just going to make the rest of our OS, yes, just to erase what was already there. And then we've defaulted on everything on that, and as you can see, it used the remaining 999 gigabytes. Then we'll just do W to write. So now we've partitioned our hard drive. Next up, we need to make sure that we have file systems on those hard disks. So we're going to do vfat on partition 1. That is because EFI systems can only read vfat file systems. Don't ask me why, but it's a requirement for doing that. And then we're going to do ext4 for our file system type for our root file partition. You can do anything you want here. You can do XFS. You just change ext4 to XFS. You can do butterfuss, whatever you'd like. I'm just doing ext4 for simplicity. Then we need to mount those file systems. We're going to do the root partitions first, so dev VDA 2, and we're going to put it in the MNT directory on our live CD. Then we're going to mount. Oh, correction, we need to create the folder that our EFI partition is going to be sitting in. So we're going to We're going to do a whole -p for a path. And then we're going to do /boot/EFI. And then we're going to mount NVDA1 or SDA1 to. And now those partitions are available on those file systems. So then we'll do an lsblk just to show everybody, hey, as you can see, our root partition is mounted to MNT, our EFI partition is mounted to boot EFI. All right, we're going to clear our work area just to get started. Now for the fun part. So you may be familiar with Packstrap. On Void Linux, we'll do this installation with just xbps install base. For Debian, it is Debootstrap. Now the live CD doesn't have Debootstrap by default, so we need to install Debootstrap. And this will install Debootstrap. Now, like I said before, we're going to be installing Chroot Hippo. This is a focal fossa disk or device. Let's do an apt update just to make sure everything's fresh. It says there's a lot of stuff that can be upgraded. We don't care. We're not using this device. We're going to be installing a whole new system on our hard drive. So now we Bootstrap. We're going to tell the system we want Chroot Hippo, and we're going to tell it we want to put it in the /mnt folder. Chroot, we could change this to focal. We could change this to, I don't know, impish. We could, if we were running Debian, it could be bullseye. It could be Sid. Whatever we'd like. So then we're going to go ahead and push enter. This is going to take a while, so I'll just go ahead and let this process run. Okay, and that's what you want to see. You want to see base system installed successfully. Okay, now that we have that installed, we want to make sure that apt is available to the installed system. So we need apt to know where to search for files. So we're going to copy our sources list. The best place to get that is just going to be from the live CD itself. So we're going to go copy etc apt sources.list, and we'll move it to, or copy it to the mounted folders etc apt folder. So get that copy. Now that is going to be for focal, and we need to make sure that it is not updating from focal. That will break the system if it's on Chroot. So we need to go to mount. We're going to go into VI. You can use gedit, whatever you like. First things first, I'm going to comment out or delete this first line, calling the CD-ROM. We're not using any CD-ROM, so we don't need to use that. Then we need to get rid of these references to focal. So I'm going to go on Chroot. So we're going to change that to Chroot. Chroot. And then in addition, some important software is pulled from the multiverse repositories. We're going to make sure that we include those on our modifications. Actually, correction, I'm sorry, the universe repositories. So we're going to just do that. And we'll just hold down Shift, ZZ, and we've saved our apt list. And then we need to mount the pseudo file systems. This connects some of the hardware to the installed system, so that way it knows where things is. The live environment provides it for it. So we're going to go, we're going to do this the long way for today, but there are faster ways to do it. We'll do R. I just want you to see what it is you're doing. So we're going to mount. And we're going to do that again, but we're going to change sys to dev. And we're going to do it one more time. Proc. Okay, we're ready. Now all we have to do is just make sure we got resolve.conf. This provides internet access in the Chroot environment we're going to be going into. So etc resolve.conf. We're just copying that over to the same spot in the mounted directory. Now we're ready to go. So let's get shrooting. Okay, we're clearing our workspace for now, and we're going to shroot into our Ubuntu Hirsute environment. So, all right, we are now in our installed Ubuntu software and computer. So this is a long way to go. You have your system, it's almost there, we just need to configure it. So first things first, I'm going to update apt. Everything updated okay. We do have some stuff that's upgradable. First, before we do anything like that, I want to update locales. Now, in Debian, you're going to install this yourself. Ubuntu includes it, so we're just going to depackage, reconfigure locales. This sets where we're at, what kind of language we're speaking. I am an English speaker, English United States speaker. So I am going to go to, where are you? Here we are, in US UTF-8. And we're going to push space, put a star by that, then hit enter. Choose that from the list, hit enter, generate our locales. Now we're good. Okay, and we want to set a root password because we don't want to get locked out of our system. So that's been updated. Now we need to install our kernel. What Debootstrap did was it put in all the tools in place so we could shroot, but to have an actual running system, we need to install the kernel. So Debian doesn't require quite as many softwares. It just needs the kernel, maybe a DHCP client, microcode. What I'm going to do, though, I'm going to install a lot more because Ubuntu doesn't have that command line capability. It can't boot straight to a command line. It has to go to a graphical environment. So you need to install a graphical environment. Otherwise, you're just going to get a black screen. So first, we're going to do app install Linux, image, generic, sudo, DHCP. I like Vim, Intel microcode, build essential, GDM3 so we can log in, so we can do our work, so we can do stuff, and then human theme so we have a mouse. And then we hit enter. And we're going to say yes to all this. We'll just let it run its course. Now that we have the kernel installed and the operating system's looking good, everything is in place. Now we just need to make sure that the thing can boot. So we need to make sure that we have FSTABs configured. The easiest way to do that is to copy from proc mounts, which was established when we did that whole setting up the sudo file systems earlier. And we're going to take it to E. And then now we're going to edit FSTAB. So, all right, now FSTAB, you're going to want to delete, just to get things started, we're going to want to delete nearly all this stuff below these two. These two, as you can see, dev VDA includes ext4. Here's dev VDA1. Here's our vfat. These are our two main partitions. The rest of this is kind of ancillary, so we're going to get rid of it. Anything with sys, proc, dev, we're going to get rid of. There is one exception, and I'll show you in a moment. So let's just get deleting. You push DD twice if you're doing this with VI or Vim. It's a little different in other editors. We're going to leave temp FS for now. All right, we're going to go back into temp FS. We just need to keep that because that's handy. Okay, so we're going to shift CZ save. Now, there is one problem with FSTAB referring constantly to the other drives as dev SDA 1 or 2. Sometimes those can get changed. I've seen those change to SDB, SDA. They can flip around. So we want the system to always be telling us what to use. That means that we are going to be using block ID to get our UUID information, and then we're going to put that into FSTAB. So I'm just going to take, here's for VDA1 or SDA1, which is what you'll likely have. We're going to copy, and then we'll go back into FSTAB. We'll go down to VDA1. We're going to delete that portion, and then we're going to just paste. Now, we don't want quotation marks. And we'll just save. Now we'll do that again with VDA2. Let's go over here, grab all these, copy, go back into FSTAB. We'll just delete, insert, Control V, Control Shift V, get rid of the quotation marks, and voila, the system will always know where your disks are. At this point, we're going to set up the host name. Debian has probably mostly configured this correctly. We're going to go and check those. So we're going to go vim ec host name. This says Ubuntu. I'd prefer something cooler, so we're going to go, let's say, Bootstrap, let's go that. Bootstrap, and then we'll go vim C and hosts. Now this is pretty similar. We're going to change localhost though to tab Bootstrap, same thing. Save. Okay. Now we need to just set our time zone. I'm in the Eastern United States, so we'll go dpackage, configure tz data, and we'll just, again, US, Eastern, done. All right. Now we're almost there. We just need to install grub. We need to first get that on the system. So apt install grub. This is an EFI system, so EFI 64, push enter, enter for yes. Let that run its course real quick. And now we're going to install grub. And installing. That's a big deal when you see that installation finished, no error reported. Update grub. That makes sure that we can actually boot, that grub actually knows what it's doing. Then finally, just sort of the last thing, we want to do sys system control enabled. And that will make sure that our environment always has access to the internet, and internet is enabled. And one last very important thing for Ubuntu, something that Debian, again, doesn't give you an issue with because Debian can go straight to command line. Because Ubuntu requires you to use the graphical interface because of the way it segments its super users, you're going to want to add a user for yourself. So that just is a really quick command. All we have to do is go type user add mg, that makes sure they're in the boot in a certain group, and then we'll make sure they're in the sudo group, and then our username, in my case, Aaron. And then we're going to add a password for Aaron so he can log in. So that's it. We're done in this live environment. We are ready to boot up to our full-on Ubuntu system. Alright, so here we are. After what is going to be a really brief and probably shockingly simple boot, you're going to come to the login GDM screen, and you're going to have your user right here. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. I'll just show you what we got. This is a basic, it's just GNOME. It's just the necessary packages. We have sound. We have, let's see, hit the terminal. We do have internet, so that's great. And it's not even going to default to bash. Here's our name, Bootstrap. Might have wanted to use a different name next time. I'm going to improve the resolution to something a little less ugly for you. All right, that's much better. And yeah, you just have a straight up Linux system. So here we are. I'll increase the size on this again. And from here, you can do just about anything you want. You have no limitations. I'm just going to make sure that everyone knows this is an Ubuntu system. We'll add that background. You could have used, I guess, you could have installed KDE, XFCE, whatever you'd like. I did GNOME just out of simplicity, just to make sure that it was obvious how to do this. Let's see if I can change the theme. Get a dark theme going on. Now we're starting to feel like we're in an Ubuntu system, and it's completely clean, all yours, very little going for it. So let's put in Firefox. Install Firefox. After a minute, perfectly functional. Oh, there you are. Perfectly functional, full-on Firefox browser. Everything you could want in a Linux. So, again, not that hard. Completely possible, just like any other Arch install, Void Linux install. You can do this with Ubuntu. You can do this with Debian. You might even be able to do it with Debian. I don't even know. I would assume because it's based on Debian. I'm going to make that a whole process later on. I'll make a video for Debian next, just because things are just a little different for Ubuntu. But I hope you enjoyed this, and this made your life a lot easier and gave you a lot more control over your computer without you having to resort to using something that everyone else does, or a system that you don't like. I'm a pretty big Debian fan. I use Debian all the time, and I cut my teeth on Ubuntu, so I'm happy to make this sort of technology or this sort of option available to people, or to help people learn how to do this. So thanks again. Thanks for watching, and happy hacking. Hey guys, I want to give a shout out to the Haiku project, of which I am on the promotions team. Haiku is a non-Linux, non-Windows, non-Mac operating system that's been around for about 20 years. We're looking for more developers. We're always looking for people who are interested in something interesting and challenging. So we highly recommend, if you have any interest or any skills that can contribute, from coding to promotions to anything else, please feel free to take a look at haikuos.org, and we look forward to working with you. Thanks a lot.